Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us today for our live show where we discuss U.S. immigration and what you need to know to take your cases to the next level, general educational kind of stuff to help you out. But it comes really important because of the confusion and insanity of the immigration system. We're live here on Instagram, on TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Again, it's November 1st. Thanks for tuning in. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Before we start, I remind everybody of a couple of things. We take your questions live here. If you could get all the questions answered, we try. Sometimes I talk really fast, try to get them all in, but it doesn't always work that way. But feel free to post your questions in the live show. If you're watching and you ask your question, there's a chance we have 3 free consultations. We give away 15-minute video consultations. If you post your questions every 10 minutes or so, we'll randomly pick somebody, or not so random, we'll see how it works, to have you do a private video consultation. So there's that giveaway that happens for those watching the live show. Other than that, if you're interested in learning about the marriage green card process, the fiance visa process, you want to do it yourself, or it's just part of your life, you plan on bringing your spouse or fiance here, the first thing you should do is download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com. That's marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Down the guide, figure out what's going on, and then contact an immigration lawyer in private, preferably us, so we could talk. info@jqklaw.com is the email. And that way you come in knowing the basics, so you can get there and ask some good questions about your case, because you don't want to go through the basics. You want to come have next level kind of questions where you dive in deeper. I enjoy talking about immigration. Those kind of more specific stuff's more fun for me. So having said that, let's get the show started. We got some questions coming up. Hirsch says, hello there, good to see you, and asks, I've applied for the I-824. I've done a lot of videos about Form I-824, and they've pretty much, if you search Google, our videos come up on top, and that leads to more and more people contacting me about this. And it's an unfortunate situation if you have to do the I-824. There's usually 2 scenarios where this pops up. One is if you, filled out your form incorrectly and stated you're going to complete the green card process in the United States, but in actuality, you're going to do it through the embassy. You got to submit this form, unfortunately. The other is if you're here in the United States, you get a green card, and then your spouse or kids are overseas outside the United States, and you have to do follow to join. Then you have to get involved with this kind of form. The timelines, unfortunately, are all over the place. But I wish you the best, Hirsch, in the application process. I'm going to jump to Instagram and ask a question, or answer a question really quick. Sana says, make sure Sana is the first question. Let's see. Okay. Sana says, I forgot to submit 2 passport pictures when I applied the I-129F. That's the fiance visa case. And I have an I-130. Wait, this is what happened. Applied before. How can I add the pictures? Okay, so you didn't do a fiance visa. You did a K3. You said you filed an I-130 first, probably on marriage, and then you did the I-129F for the K3 purposes. If the pictures are missing, they'll just send you an RFE, a request for evidence, for you to send those. Frankly, if you did file an I-130 and subsequently filed an I-129F K3, most likely the K3 is just going to be denied because the I-130 is going to be approved. It probably won't even get to the stage of asking for an RFE, but they'll just RFU, request for evidence, so we sent to you for those. So I wish you the best in the process. Hopefully it goes pretty fast. We did just get one approved. We started the K3 process for a marriage green card case, and it was approved over 2 months. It was really fast. And so, more and more we're doing these cases, even though there's no official word that if you file a K3 or I-130, it's move faster. It does sporadic, 60% of the time that happens. Viewer Hushan Kwakabi, one of our good friends, that says, hello, good to see you. Sugar Bus says, I have an M400, a citizenship interview, but the DMV registered to vote. I did remove and everything. I'm afraid things will go bad. What should I do? You got to talk with an immigration in private about that error to see what's possible. So sorry to hear about that mess up. It could be problematic, but if there's a good answer for it, something to do. You want to ask for records from the DMV to see how this happened, how this mistake in registration happened in the first place. You may have not done it. They may have done it without you knowing. Now we show you didn't have the intent to do it, but you got to request the paperwork. All right, going back to YouTube, Sharia asks, I applied the I-130 2010, still waiting. It depends on what kind of I-130 you submitted. And we have another question. Eon asks the same thing. How long is the I-130? There's various uses for the I-130. The I-130 is a family-based petition when you want to file for a green card for a family member. It could be your spouse, it could be your children, it could be your parents, it could be your siblings, and all these have different processing times. So when someone says, how long my I-130? I don't know, because if you did a marriage to a U.S. citizen, those typically are taking like 6 to 12 months right now. If you are a green card holder filing for a spouse, it's taking like 2 years. If you're a U.S. citizen filing for a sibling, it takes anywhere from 2 to 10 years. And for that case, how long it takes for an I-130 approved doesn't really matter on its own. It depends on the visa bulletin as to how long it'll take for you to actually get the green card. So the analysis gets much deeper than this. So it's not an easy question to answer. Just say how long I-130. It depends, as most things in law do. It just depends on what the facts of the case are and how long it's going to take. Now, there's a nuance to this that if you do file for a brother or sister, for example, and they have children, you want the I-130 to take longer. It's a weird situation where the longer the petition takes for them to adjudicate, it's better because you take the time that it took for the I-130 case to be adjudicated, and you can subtract that from the age of the minor child, the niece or nephew, and potentially they can keep him in the parent's green card case. So it starts getting complicated, but it's a thing that allows nieces and nephews who are over the age of 21 to potentially stay in part of the case and still get green cards if the I-130 is pending longer, because you subtract that from their age and get under 21. It's kind of, I said this very briefly, as Child Status Protection Act, kind of complex, but hopefully that information helped you out a little bit. But thank you for your question. I wish the best on that. We have another question here on TikTok. They're asking, let's see. Mandy asks, 10-year age difference doesn't matter in a marriage green card case. Not necessarily. We get this question about age difference all the time. And I frequently do these kind of cases. It's pretty normal, frankly. 10 years people have 10 years differences, so it's not an issue. They look at the totality of the circumstances. Do you look like you're a couple? Does the relationship make sense? Do you have a developed relationship to show like it is a relationship? Have you traveled together? How long ago did you meet? Do you stay in regular touch? Do you have photos together? There's all these different kind of things that they're going to look at in your background to see what makes sense and if it does or not. So the age is just one factor. At the end of the day, it's really like this. If you see a couple walking down the street or you meet them and start talking to them, do you feel like they're a fake couple or not? They could have big age differences. They could have, all sorts of cultural differences, religious differences. Their skin color may be different, all this kind of stuff, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a fake relationship. What do you feel? Is this real relationship? You feel it, then that's that. We have questions about how much a consultation costs. It depends on what the case issue that you have is, how much time it needs, and which attorney in our firm is handling it. So there's a variance. What you got to do if you want to schedule a consultation and you want to know how much it is, email the office and briefly describe the immigration issue that you have so that we can see which lawyer would do it, how much time that lawyer needs for the initial consultation, and then we could tell you how much the consultation fee is. And so that's the best way to do it. It just depends. We try to fine tune everything so you pay for what you need. Sometimes it's a really simple issue. You don't need to have the most expensive lawyer on the case or something that's very simple. So we have a less senior attorney handling it because we don't want you to pay a bunch of money for something that doesn't need the biggest expert in the world on the subject. Whereas some other things really need, instead of half an hour, need a full hour expertise, maybe 2 lawyers sitting on that because it's so complicated. So it really depends on the situation that you have. And that's why just got to email us, info@jqqlaw.com, and briefly describe the immigration issue that you have so we can see what's going on. Hirsch follows up. I received an email from the National Visa Center for my approved documents from USCIS, but could not respond at the time. And I got a termination letter, and then I applied for I-240. Do you think that's going to work, please? That's not the proper procedure. If your case was terminated by the National Visa Center, you have to ask for it to be reopened. You've probably waited over a year, but contact them, see if they have terminated the case or they send it back and try to fix it. The I-240 is not meant to reopen a case that was terminated by the National Visa Center. So I don't know sure what point you want to hire an attorney, but you're already too late at this point. Try to get a hold of a professional instead of doing it by yourself, because there's several parts right here so far that have major problems and you potentially destroy the case. So talk with a lawyer as soon as possible about it. But if you got a termination letter from the National Visa Center, what you got to do is contact them. And my wonderful sister Katrina has actually named you as a raffle winner, Hirsch. Your lucky day. Please email the office with a screenshot of where you're watching this. I think you're on Facebook. I'll take a screenshot so I see your username. I know it's you. And email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com. We'll have a free 15-minute video chat to see what's going on and take it from there. For those just tuning in, we give away free video consultations during the live show. All you got to do is watch and like and subscribe and make a comment or a question. And we'll randomly pick, my assistant Katrina will pick somebody in 10 minutes. And in 20 minutes, you have 2 more to give away to have a private chat about your immigration issue to go in more detail about it. But thank you, Hirsch, for your question. And also, if you're interested in the marriage green card process, download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com and learn what's going on in the process. There's a lot to know. All right, next question is from Freezy. Says, can I file a K-1, that's fiance visa, if I met my fiance once during our relationship? Yeah, that's very normal. As long as you met once, that's a requirement. You have to be a U.S. citizen for a fiance visa, and you have to met at least once. There is a waiver of the meeting requirement, but it's so complicated, harsh, and unreliable. I don't recommend someone doing that unless they have some sort of emergency situation. But if you just met once, yeah, you know that's just the whole point of the fiance visa. So your fiance has the opportunity to come to the United States. You meet here, you live together for 90 days, and try to get married before the end of 90 days. Even if you get married afterward, there's stuff you could do to help the case. But that's possible. But a lot of times the marriage process is a little bit smoother. So it just depends on what you want to do. And, the best thing to do is download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Study that, see what's going on there. Just schedule a private consultation with our office. But thank you for your question, Freezeboy 116. A LinkedIn user asked, I've applied for my I-131 on July 11th, and I did my biometrics on August 12th. While I am still waiting for my approval, can I travel outside the United States and come back once they have the approval? Well, I can't tell because the form I-131 is for a refugee travel document or a reentry permit or advanced parole. I don't know which one you chose. If you have a pending advanced parole document, no, you cannot travel until it's approved. If most likely that's what it is here, is a reentry permit. The regulations aren't specific about it, but historically people have been able to travel after submission of the form I-131 for a reentry permit. You have to physically be in the United States when the I-131 is submitted. But after that, I've had clients come and go. It hasn't been an issue. But the regulations are really badly written on it. I wish the best in the process, and definitely, have an attorney on your side to help guide you through this stuff. Teresa has, are immigration waiving conditional green cards? No, conditional green cards, you mean the interview for it? Yeah, they do that all the time. But the conditional green card itself, no, that's a statutory requirement. When your green card is issued, a green card based on marriage, the marriage is less than 2 years old, you get a conditional green card, and you have to file for I-751 2 years after getting that green card, and that doesn't get waived. Now, the interview, 9 out of 10 of my cases, or 9 out of 100, get their interview waived. We rarely have interviews unless the case is just, mostly the evidence is so weak. Now they'll get interviewed, and randomly once in a while, they'll just have someone go to interview for no reason. I've had that happen before too. But overall, most of my cases don't have interviews, but you can't waive the I-751 process if you're subject to it. Her Secret Chaos says, approved relative petition, but dad refused to sign for visa for son. What can I do from USA? I'm not sure what you mean sign for visa. That there's no signing for the visa. There's other stuff that was signed. But at the end of the day, whoever the petitioner is has to participate and sign an affidavit of support as well. And if they're not doing that, there might be certain vowel kind of cases, I guess, something like that happen. But really, it depends on the unique aspects of the case. It didn't go into exceptions. We have to dive in really deep to see what to do. You got to talk with a lawyer in private about something like that. April asks, I filed for my brother in 2011. How long does it take from India to the United States? Well, go to a thing called the Visa Bulletin. Go to Google, type in Visa Bulletin, and there'll be a State Department website that pops up. You go to category F4 in the first chart of the F4 primarily. And for India, I don't know, it's probably 20, 22 years or something like that in the F4 filing, something like that. So you probably got another 10 years to go. But check out that website. It's more exact on what cases they're currently approving, and hope for the best. 29 Super CR regulars, good to see you. 29 says, hello, Attorney Strong. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Thanks for all the videos you have online to help the immigration community. God bless you. God bless you, 29 Super C. I'm happy to see that you're here and everything's going well. And thanks for coming on the show. It's been we've been talking for a long time, but I really appreciate the support. Lovable Student says, I have my husband's I-130 just got approved. How long does it take till the next process? Well, if your husband's overseas, you got to wait for the National Visa Center to contact you. That could be 2 weeks, could be 8 weeks. And then you have to submit civil documents. Once you submit it, it takes around 2 weeks from now for them to review it. I have people do the case on their own. They make mistakes. All of a sudden, it takes like 8 months for them to approve the paperwork there. It doesn't have to be that long, but if you make mistakes, it does. And then you wait for the interview, and it depends on the embassy you're dealing with. The interview could pop up 1-2 months later, or interview could pop up 1 or 2 years later. So there's a lot of variables in this that depend on how well you do the paperwork, what kind of case you have, and at the same time, which embassy you're dealing with and how the backlogs are for those embassies. Bajwa says, should I upload my marriage pictures online? I want that after I submitted it. My office does not use the online system. We submit, I have a policy of submitting the bona fide documents with the initial application. I think it's the wise way to do it. Not every attorney does that. Not every law firm does that. But I don't touch the online system, so I don't. And also, this is too case specific. I can't tell you what to do, but I don't use the online system. So, it's one of the benefits of having an attorney before to plan this stuff out. But I can't advise on that specific issue. But when we file the case, we do send all the evidence of the relationship with the I-130 petition, and we do it by mail only. Mo says, I applied for my parents and finally got approval after 1 year. However, my mom, they asked me I-824. So you probably may fill out your mom's I-130 incorrectly, and we see this problem pop up a lot. And if you did file it incorrectly, you got to check whether you did or not. Usually, if you have a lawyer, you have a copy of your form I-130 as evidence, but maybe you did the right thing, they made a mistake. But if they didn't, you probably have to do form I-824. The problem with form I-824 is it could take a month to get approved. It could take a year to get approved. Sometimes we just file an I-824 and another I-130 just to make it faster. That may be the way to go depending on your case and stuff. But unfortunately, yeah, you're stuck with doing some extra paperwork because of potential error. All right. 133 chat says, how long does it take to hear back after I return my RFE requested? There's no timeline for them to return back to you. Dal says, my husband's case was documented to qualify, says November 21, still haven't got an interview. Yeah, it just depends on the embassy and how long they want to take to get you the interview. So unfortunately, these are the delays I was talking about earlier. When people ask how long it takes, you don't know how long it takes. Depends on whenever they have time to see you. Want to ask, hi John, runner regulars. Can I go and live outside the United States for 6 months with my wife while her I-130 is getting processed? I am a U.S. citizen. As a U.S. citizen, you can do whatever you want to do. Eventually, you'll need to show that you are domiciled in the United States once the next step begins. So you need to show life in the United States and hopefully have work or housing and stuff like that. So that's going to pop up. But while the I-130 is pending as a U.S. citizen, is not an issue. But again, later on for consular processing, when the affidavit support is needed, either you have to make income or get a joint sponsor, but also you have to show your domicile in the United States. So you have to do whatever steps are needed to show that. TBS, I'm in a period of authorized stay pending adjustment of status on I-140 V1C. Non-immigrant visa expired more than 180 days, less than 360 days. Can I file another I-485 as a dependent for EB-1A husband? If it's been more than 180 days since your husband's visa has expired, then no. At this point, it's probably out of status. You can file I-485, and he's potentially subject to a 3-year bar. This is too case specific. You really should talk with your employment-based immigration attorney. EB-1C, probably your employer hired somebody, and that lawyer is probably not talking with you or ignoring your emails. It happens a lot. You got to have your own counsel on this to plan it out. And you might need to do an I-824 later because your husband may leave. It's kind of complex, and we just need to talk in private. I can announce you as the winner of our second a winner of our raffle. So TB, just take a screenshot where you watch this. So I know it's you, and email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com. We'll talk briefly privately on this issue to see what's going on and what the best route is, and figure out, talk there and see what's going to happen. But for those just watching live, what we do is we give away free video consultations. We got one more that we're going to give away in 10 minutes. Just ask your question here, like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk. And TB, again, take that screenshot, email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com, and we can talk in private about your case. Next question. Dal follows up. I expedited with doctor paper. They denied it. I'm a green card holder, so I just sent the N400 last week. I don't know what to tell you. But unfortunately, sometimes the expedites get denied. Vicho says, I've been waiting for 6 months for my EAD based on paid adjustment status. Is this normal? Yeah, they've gone to the employment-based work permit based on adjustment status had gone fast as like 5 weeks, but now it's back to 7, 8, 9 months to get approved, unfortunately. Naisaki says, hi, got work authorization in June. How long will it be for the immigrant for the interview or green card issuance? That's up to your local office and however long they want to take. Mark asks, have you ever had a case where an asylee won a DV lottery? I have had cases. They were in status, and I've randomly heard of cases be approved from other people who have status that expired. I know the situation you're having. Most likely your case is going to be denied if you haven't maintained an underlying status and just have asylum pending. But I'm not sure what your exact question is. So you're an asylee already, and you got a green card. You won the lottery. I'd have to analyze this case to see how much out of status time there was and stuff like that. So it's not a typical scenario, but I could research it. Just email the office, schedule a private consultation, and we do the analysis for that. Mari says, how long does the work permit under adjustment status even receive? I just talked about this. Going to be 3 weeks or 5 weeks, 8 months. There's no real number. Paul says, why am I still hearing about this 90-day rule? Is it still being applied to cases? The so-called 90-day rule is applied by the Department of State. They have this fake rule, so it could be applied to cases. USCIS does not have a 90-day rule. They have a case-by-case analysis to see if someone within, soon after arriving, entered with a certain visa with the intention of doing something else. So came with a tourist visa, but really wanted to file for adjustment of status and a green card, and so they're changing their mind. So USCIS, depends on what kind of case you have, could be really strict on this, or could be whatever about it, just let it go. But it just depends on the case. Really quick, I want to jump to some questions on Instagram. Oski says, what is the turnaround time I filed marriage-based I-130 over a year ago? 6 months, 2 years, something like that. Sugar Paws follows up. I filed single on my tax return when I'm married. Will this affect my N-400 interview? It can. You properly filed your case. You pretty should amend your tax return to show properly, because you're married. Why'd you file single? Normally, no one cares unless there's a reason to look into it. But if the proper way to do it is to correct your tax return, there's no point in incorrectly filing it. Plus, when you're married, you usually get tax benefits, so you save money. So it's something to look into. The technical thing is you got to file your tax returns properly. If you didn't, you got to go fix it, and that's about it. At the citizenship interview, their question is, have you always filed your taxes? And that's the main thing they ask. It could get into us if they want. So a safe thing to do is to amend and correct your tax return. All right. So, next question is Richard asks, can a person apply to become a permanent resident after the American husband dies? She is foreign. Yeah, it's a special kind of case under, what is it? It's not a VAWA case, but you have to file Form I-360. You have to file it within 2 years of the spouse's death. We're doing this case right now, actually, where it's this Northern European woman whose husband died. There's a 2-year deadline. So after the passing, whatever date of passing, unfortunate passing your husband is, you have 2 years to apply for your green card. It's something doable. Email the office, and we'll schedule a time to talk with you about it. Or at least with the person who's the actual applicant, not a third party. But we could talk about that. 133 chat says, driver's license suspended due to no car insurance and car accident after my status. Does that affect my status of filing? I have to see what the charges are and stuff. Usually it doesn't, but you got to bring it up. But we have to see what the charges are and stuff like that. It's too case specific for me to be able to answer here. ML Martin on Instagram says, my mother's a green card holder. I'm from the Philippines and single. I just want to visit my relatives and have a tour. What should I declare my mother? Yes, the application asks if you have immediate relatives in the United States, Form DS-160 for a tourist visa, and you have to be honest. So, I mean, yeah, obviously you got to be honest and tell them what to answer the question properly, so you don't get accused of fraud. That's a terrible idea to not be 100% about it. Richard follows up, how long does it take to become a permanent resident and costs involved? Which it's case by case specific what we're doing. It varies. If you're watching the show for the last 20 minutes, timelines aren't something that's reliable. The person who is the applicant has to contact the office and have a private consultation, and we give information there because we got to analyze the case. You said it was a death of the spouse case. Maybe it's been more than 2 years since they passed away, so they can't even get a green card. We don't know. Maybe the person has criminal history. Maybe that person's birth certificate is missing or it doesn't exist. There's just so many different things that could be possible here that we have to analyze the case. Just asking how much something is just, there are firms that just give you prices, but it's not realistic. They'll change it on you, or they're just not going to do good work because they're not fine-tuning the price to how much work is required here. They can potentially overcharge you. So, just have the person who's interested in the visa schedule a private consultation. That's the best way to do it. So, we talked briefly about this subject of what happens if you're married to a U.S. citizen and the U.S. citizen passes away. Can you get a green card? So the rule is it's considered under the EB-4 category, even though it's not employment-based, and you file Form I-360 for it, and it allows you to start the green card process based on having a deceased spouse. If you're in the United States, you file I-360 with an adjustment of status. If you're overseas, you usually have to work directly with the U.S. Embassy of your home country and work with them to file the I-360 with them, and then do consular processing. But there may be issues involved in the case that we have to deal with. If you have, for example, unauthorized presence and 3 or 10-year bars or other inadmissibility issues, this kind of stuff could pop up and be problematic for your case. And so that's why we have to analyze and see what exists, because there's always a lot more going on in a case than I'm just a regular person. My husband passed away, my wife passed away. There's always a lot more stuff that you got to get into. Sugar Puss says, thank you so much for your videos. You're awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you have the time, just go to Google, type in JQK Law, and on the review part that Google has, just put 5 stars there. You don't even have to write anything, but any of these things are appreciated. Leaving reviews for help from my firm. Just put a 5 stars in. Sugar Puss, much appreciated on Instagram. And thank you everyone else who's catching the show live on all these different avenues. We only have a couple more minutes. Let's jump into answering those, and we'll take it from there. Muhammad Musaddiq says, God bless you, John. God bless you as well. I wish you the best. And I33 says, there's no charges. It's just insurance company reported to driver's license to suspend no course. This is case specific. Probably doesn't matter. You need to have this paperwork and potentially be able to talk about it. But because it is a specific case, and I'm not your lawyer, I'm not allowed to just tell you preparation advice. Just I got to keep it general. It's probably not a problem, but I don't know the details. I'm not the attorney in your case, so I can't tell you do this or do that when I haven't seen what the report is. I haven't seen what's actually happened. All this kind of stuff. Definitely you should contact have an attorney that they could talk to in private that could get into on this stuff. ML Martin says, thank you on Instagram. You're welcome. Thank you as well. These are the things that pop up where we really got to dive into your case and see what's going on. Because there's always more to what's said. Every time someone comes to me and says, I have an easy case, that's a red flag to me. That no, it's not going to be an easy case. There's going to be something in here. And every time, and I've been doing this for 10 plus years, hundreds of cases. And there's always more to the story, because a lot of times people don't know what is easy case. I mean, not an immigration at the end of the day. You haven't seen the issue, so you don't know what's easy or what's not. And having said that, people sometimes like, oh, it's easy. They file on their own. And we have this disastrous results. This I-824 issue we're talking about, people filling out the form I-130 incorrectly, create hours and years of extra work and thousands of extra dollars and extra costs because they didn't file that in the proper way. So I want to name the last raffle winner. Sugar Puss, thank you so much for watching and your kind words. If you're interested in a consultation, a private video consultation, a free one, basically something a winner of a live show, take a screenshot where you're watching this and email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com. We'll have a private session to discuss your case. But just tuning in, we don't have any more free video consultation on this session, but tune in next week to Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time. We give away 3 free video consultations where you can talk in private about your case and get more details. Can't do that here. There's only a limit to how much we go into detail. But we'll definitely jump into and talk with you about it. That's a lot of fun. I love talking about this immigration stuff, so it's going to be a good time. Having said that, I think we're going to call it a day today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. If you're interested in having a private consultation, email us at info@jqqlaw.com. Check out our podcast. We do recordings of this and have them on podcast or the YouTube page. There's and the YouTube clips page, especially. There's hundreds and hundreds of clips that answer pretty much 99% of these questions. There, just got to do a quick search on YouTube, and I have an answer because for years now, I've been doing this live show, and then through that, we created thousands of clips. So everything has an answer there. It's easier to ask the lawyer directly, and that's why private consultations cost money, because we focus on that. But if you do a little bit of search, majority of the time I've answered all your questions, and you can find that, and I give this information out for free. Just help y'all out with the process. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll be back next week. Until then, God bless. Be safe. Bye-bye.